Powerful people can afford to be a bit selfish, you know. My wife is a beauty and she's a manager. Quite the contrast to a high school dropout like you. Sitting in a hotel lounge, sipping tea with my wife, an old classmate named Michael appeared in front of us. It seemed there was a networking event for his wife's company at the banquet hall, and he had invited us to join. So that's it. Your wife is a manager, I said, trying to probe further. Oblivious to the real meaning behind my words, Michael boasted about his wife as if it were his own accomplishment. Well then, I guess I'll take you up on that offer, I conceded. Michael looked triumphant at having secured his position. Do you still not like peppermint candy? He asked, hoping perhaps his tastes had changed. But my prayer for a change of heart went unanswered. I've always said so, haven't I? That's something for old folks to eat. And your wife agrees. I probed further. Michael hesitated but nodded in agreement. Then consider your wife fired, I declared, unable to forgive his words. Not just for Michael's sake, but for his wife, Emily, as well. My name is Sean. The son of a French patisserie owner and its heir, I found myself working at a traditional American candy company at the age of 35. There was a reason for this distinct change in career. When I was in middle school, the shopping district where our shop was located had become desolate, and many stores were closing down. Concerned, my father decided to focus on what little business we could attract by capitalizing on a lack of cafes in the perimeter. After renovating to include an eat-in space, we saw a visible increase in customers. Just when we thought we had found our footing, an unforeseen change occurred that year. Until then, there was only one confectionery shop in the local station building, but the building was reopening, with a floor dedicated solely to confectionaries. Our customers were swiftly drawn away. All that was left was the debt from the renovation. Customers were decreasing, and repaying the debt on sales alone was impossible. So when I was in my second year of high school, we had to close the shop. I'm thinking of dropping out of high school to work at a traditional American candy shop. You know how I've always said if I weren't the heir to the French patisserie, I'd want to work at a candy shop. While my desire to work in such a shop was genuine, I had always imagined doing so after graduating from college. My attempt to make the financial burden lighter was immediately sensed by my parents, who strongly opposed the idea. It's fine if you want to work at a traditional candy shop in the future, but dropping out of high school is out of the question. We'll manage somehow, so make sure you graduate, they insisted. I've already decided to drop out. When I first dreamed of being something other than a French pastry chef, I thought my dream would never come true. If I work at the candy shop, I can pursue my dream and help pay off the debt faster. It's all good, I argued. The discussion lasted over a week. Realizing my determination, my parents eventually gave in, and I dropped out of high school. I joined a company selling traditional candies as a part-time worker. Since then, the debt was fully repaid, and I even got married 5 years ago. I have no regrets about the path I've chosen. The man who inspired me to dream of working in a candy shop reappeared in my life when everything was going smoothly. As my wife, Annie, and I enjoyed tea in a hotel lounge, a man approached us. Sean, right. Long time no see. He greeted me so warmly Annie must have thought he was a close friend. She greeted him with a smile. It's been a while, Michael. It must be almost 20 years since your shop went under. Are you sure a poor guy like you can afford tea in such a fancy hotel lounge? Did you check how much it costs per cup? I had hoped he'd grown a bit as an adult, but it seemed his mentality hadn't changed since middle school. Just like I declared, I'm now living the dream as a full-time homemaker. I can afford to come to this lounge every week. It's quite satisfying to see the guy who used to lecture me pompously lose everything, unable to even graduate high school. Michael's family owned a traditional candy shop in the same shopping district. His store's peppermint candies were my favorite, and despite being the son of a French patisserie owner, I had fallen in love with traditional American candies. It wasn't that I disliked French sweets, but Michael felt differently. Peppermint candies are for old people. Who would want to inherit such an outdated and unprofitable shop? I'm going to live a luxurious life as a full-time homemaker, he had declared. We were the same age and grew up in similar circumstances, becoming friends as soon as we were old enough to understand each other. However, our relationship changed in the third year of middle school when Michael made that declaration. I always envied him for being able to inherit the candy shop, so I passionately explained how wonderful peppermints were, hoping to change his mind. However, my words were not accepted, and instead of reaching an understanding, our conversation escalated into an argument. Since then, we have been at odds, never speaking to each other again. I met Annie as a regular at the shop where I work now, so she is unaware of our history. I hoped he would leave soon, but then he starts saying things. That's right, there's a party in the banquet hall downstairs. It's a networking event for my wife's company, but the food is luxurious. So I'll make a special exception to let you two in. Isn't it your wife's company's networking event? It wouldn't make sense for unrelated people to join. I pointed out, thinking it was common sense, but Michael laughed loudly. That's such a poor person's way of thinking. People in high positions can afford to be a bit selfish, you know. My wife is a beauty and in a managerial position. That's a mile away from a high school dropout like you. So that's it. Your wife is a manager, I realized. Then Michael glanced at Annie as if to say, unlike your wife, prompting me to stand protectively behind her. Annie works in a bookstore, a lover of books with a quiet personality. She's not good at handling harsh words. What's the matter? I haven't said anything about your wife yet. Anyway, my wife is an important person. Sneaking you two in is easy for me, he boasted. Well then, I guess I'll take you up on that offer, I conceded. Michael looked triumphant at having secured his position. All right, let's meet at the entrance of the venue. Just don't eat too much and embarrass yourself by getting sick, he warned. Annie looked up at me anxiously, but I reassured her, it's okay, and we spent the time until the event in the lounge. Hey, you're the ones that asked for this favor. Why am I here before you? This is why I hate people with a low education, no common sense. Michael greeted us with sarcasm as we arrived at the banquet hall. Sorry, we got delayed because we went to the bathroom, I apologized. Stomachache from nerves. This is why I dislike people not used to these places, he commented disdainfully. I apologized multiple times to Michael as we entered the venue. Once inside, Michael began to show off the venue nonchalantly. Look at this, a networking event in a grand banquet hall of a luxury hotel. Impressive, isn't it? Plush carpets, expensive furnishings, and all-you-can-eat food, he boasted. Despite thinking how he could act so important at an event not even hosted by his company, I listened to his explanations to avoid angering him. By the way, what does your wife do? I asked. Michael's expression twisted at my question. It's written at the entrance. She works for a traditional candy company that you might find in department stores, he reluctantly admitted. I knew he didn't want to say those words, but I pressed on. Despite you not wanting to take over your family's shop, your wife works for a traditional candy company, I pointed out. It doesn't matter. Michael snapped, trying to suppress his irritation by downing his champagne in one go. Do you still not like peppermint candy? I probed, knowing his wife worked in the traditional candy industry. I hoped, even slightly, that his opinion had changed, but my prayers went unanswered. I've always said so, haven't I? That's something for old folks to eat, not something for young, refined people like us, he insisted. And your wife thinks the same? I asked. Michael hesitated but nodded. Of course, he asserted. Then consider your wife fired, I declared. What? Michael was taken aback, then burst into laughter. What authority do you think you have? Are you drunk just from the smell of alcohol? He jeered. After laughing for a while, Michael seemed unsettled by my serious expression. Hey, what's wrong? Is your stomach still upset? He inquired. I couldn't forgive Michael's words. Even for the sake of Michael's wife, Emily. What's all this noise about? Emily, look, this is my classmate. Attempting to ease the tension, Michael introduced his wife to us. Emily looked surprised to see us, which was understandable, since we all knew each other well. You were classmates with President Smith, she asked. President Smith, what kind of joke is that? Not fully grasping the situation, Michael was replaced by Emily in receiving an explanation of our history. It's been about 20 years since we last met. We just happened to meet in a lounge and were invited to join the networking event, I shared. So it was a surprise reunion, and you kept being a president a secret to surprise us. My husband always talks big when he gets carried away, but at heart, he's a coward, so please forgive him, Emily admitted. That side of Michael, I was all too familiar with. Smiling at Michael, who seemed fearful of being exposed in front of his wife, I reassured him. It's time for the speeches. I have to make my way to the stage. Emily watched her husband with curiosity as he dramatically shrugged his shoulders. When it was time for the speech, I took the stage in the venue. Thank you all for gathering here today. Being able to host such a large networking event is only possible thanks to the hard work of all our employees. I began, acknowledging the many employees and Emily, Michael's wife. About 10 years ago, when Emily and I were in the product development department, the company was on the brink of failure. Reminiscent of the atmosphere surrounding my family's French patisserie. Emily, who loved candies and joined this company for that reason, felt the same way. If our company were to fail, traditional candies might disappear altogether. Let's create candies that can change the world. Emily's passionate words bewildered our colleagues, but I was the only one who agreed with her. I think so too. We must stand firm for the sake of the confectionery industry, I declared. We spent our days off visiting traditional candy shops, planning new products essential for the company's revival. After much trial and error, we developed a peppermint candy targeting younger consumers, making it visually appealing, offering a variety of colors, and enhancing online sales. As a result, the product became popular on social media, leading not just to a recovery in performance but also to recording the highest sales ever. This success led to the opening of a peppermint specialty store, and we had regulars like Annie visiting several times a week. Recognized for our achievements, the president at the time asked me to become the new president and bring a new breeze to the confectionery industry. Many still think of peppermint candies as something only the elderly eat, but let's work together to change that perception. From the stage, I could clearly see everyone's faces. Of course, I didn't miss Michael looking away with an awkward expression. After finishing the speech, I received a paper bag from my secretary and returned to Michael. Would you try this? I asked. I offered the candy developed by Emily and me. What, is this some kind of sarcasm? I won't eat that, Michael retorted, attempting to throw the bag on the floor, which I quickly caught. Seeing me act proud, you must have laughed inside, right? How did a high school dropout like you become president? Maybe she's the president's daughter. No, such a plain woman couldn't possibly be. He spat out, continuing his malicious words despite Emily's presence. This candy became popular just because we made it look good, attracting young people. Don't get ahead of yourself, he added. Stop it. Emily also contributed to developing this confection, I interjected. Michael seemed unaware and hesitated for a moment, but his anger towards me probably overcame his hesitation. He didn't apologize to Emily. I've always hated peppermint candy and the idea that ours were the best in the world. Get that out of my sight, Michael demanded. Ignoring Michael's words, I tore open the packaging and opened the box right in front of him. Don't you feel anything seeing this? I asked, revealing the candy. Seeing the candy that came out of the package, Michael was dumbfounded. What is that? They're exactly the same, Michael said, surprised. The best-selling peppermint candy among our products is the green-colored one. It was the signature product of Michael's family shop. Did you become popular by copying someone else's product? I'll spread the truth on social media right away. This company is finished, he threatened. Everyone already knows, even if you don't spread it, while our other peppermints are our original creations. This green one is officially announced as a recreation of the signature product from a traditional candy shop that had closed down, I explained. It wasn't just my family's shop that had closed. Michael's family shop also faced difficulties and closed when we were just over 20 years old. When developing new products, I remembered those peppermints and wanted to bring them back so many people could enjoy them again. So, I got permission from Michael's parents and recreated it. The soothing yet mild taste, offering a gentle sweetness, became popular mainly among young women because it's so deliciously easy to eat. Just try one, I suggested. I brought the candy to his lips and Michael, albeit reluctantly, accepted it. He slowly put it in his mouth. The taste is exactly the same, he noted. I thought to myself, it's been about 15 years since the shop closed, yet he recognizes it as the exact same taste, but I didn't say it out loud. Of course, it should be. We worked really hard to replicate the exact flavor with machinery. It would be a problem if it wasn't the same, I said, emphasizing the effort put into recreating the taste. I deliberately asked Michael, who had become quiet. Weren't peppermints supposed to be something only old people eat? If so, isn't it strange that a peppermint, which has been around for decades, is most popular among young people? Just a coincidence, maybe, Michael retorted. Emily, remembering the words I had said during the speech, glared at Michael as if to say, "Were you the one who said that?" Emily is as proud of her work as I am. Witnessing his wife's anger, Michael said he had a stomach ache and needed to go home, then ran off. I apologize for my husband's rude behavior. We will have a thorough discussion at home, Emily said. Her commanding smile making it intimately grab the hem of my jacket. Is he going to be okay? Annie wondered. I don't think so, but it's the result of his actions, so it can't be helped, I responded. I was truly grateful for my wife's gentle nature. After much deliberation, I called Emily to the president's office a few days later. Is this about the networking event? I was planning to apologize again, she began. It is about the event, but I was wondering how Michael is doing. Is he okay? I asked cautiously. Emily, looking relieved, simply answered, he's left. So, they seem to be filing a divorce. Knowing Emily's deep love for traditional candies, I imagined her anger was substantial, but I hadn't expected a divorce in just a few days. So, it seems like I caused your divorce. I'm sorry. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help, I offered. We didn't divorce, she clarified. Emily happily explained what had happened. Despite saying he hated peppermints, Michael didn't actually dislike them. Once, feeling guilty about always asking him to take out the trash, Emily decided to do it herself and found an old candy box at the bottom of the trash bag. Since Michael was the one doing the housework, he thought he had hidden his secret well. He actually wanted to work with candies, but couldn't tell his parents due to his adolescence. In that time the shop closed and he had to give up on the path of a traditional candy maker, she revealed. After confirming his true desire to pursue a career in candy making, Emily persuaded an acquaintance to allow Michael to train with him. He said he would take care of him if he was serious about learning candy making as a live-in apprenticeship, she said, and Michael immediately became an apprentice. Now, he's being strictly trained by a craftsman with a strong work ethic from morning till night. Please visit if he ever opens his own shop. He says he wants to have one someday, she requested. It looks like we've got a formidable rival. We had to continue working hard without complacency. Leave it to me, I'll beat him thoroughly. Despite it being her own husband, our head of planning and development showed no mercy. Years after the networking event, Annie and I visited a certain shop for inspection. It was the shop Michael had opened after completing his apprenticeship. Annie, who usually doesn't talk much but goes on about candies non-stop, was excitedly peeking into the shop. She was originally a regular at our peppermint specialty shop, and we became close after I noticed her frequent visits and struck up a conversation, eventually leading to marriage. I nostalgically remembered how she looked back then. It's surprisingly traditional looking for a candy shop, isn't it? Annie commented, contrary to what I had expected from Michael, who I thought would opt for a modern, stylish design, but the shop had a quaint appearance. I wondered if mentioning it resembled his family's candy shop would upset him. We can go inside now. I noticed, as Michael's shop, specializing in peanut candies, was popular enough to have lines form before opening and sell out before closing, especially on weekends. Finally, it was our turn, and inside, over 20 types of peanut candies were displayed in the showcase. While many were designed with young consumers in mind, focusing on appearance, Michael's dedication was evident in the variety, including candies distinguished by the origin of the peanuts. As we deliberated over which to choose, Michael, who came to replenish the products, caught my eye. "Why are you here?" he asked. "I'm here for espionage, obviously. Be grateful I didn't bring Emily." I joked, as Emily had decided not to enter this shop, thinking her advice would be unwelcome. She had asked me to just buy some souvenirs today. Mentioning Emily's name seemed to prevent Michael from making any careless remarks, and he silently continued his work. "Which do you recommend?" I inquired. "All of them, every single one, so you'll realize you can't beat us." That is a comment that would surely delight his parents if they heard it. His words brought a smile to my face.